promotion in here, just in case. All right. No cameras? I thought we're putting cameras in the new year. No camera. There we go. Beautiful faces. All right. Lovely. Lovely. Cool. So, apologies everyone for the continuous delay. Fortunately, the holidays, like we said, landed a lot on Mondays, so we had to push these back a little bit. But we'll get cracking again today with workshop number 4, landscapes. Very exciting ones, terrains, if we know it in the game engines. Many different terminologies, but we'll focus on landscapes because that's what Unreal uses. So we're on the same page. We touched last week on materials. I hope you guys practiced a little bit after that. Different types of materials, with combining with textures and tiling and UVing. But we'll dive more into that over the next couple of workshops as we're closer to the finish. So, like I said, today is landscapes. Let me share my screen so I can show you guys what I am looking at. Now I've got 3 screens. I feel lost. Where am I? Upgraded since the new year. Cool. We can all see my Unreal Engine Hello World project. Give me a thumbs up. Lovely. Cool stuff. Feel free to watch stream if you can't see that. Yeah, I guess so. Feel free to open up your projects as well, just to have it running in the background so we can get started. For those of you who've forgotten what the project is called, it's probably Hello World. It's also in your library in Epic Games. Somewhere here. I've got a lot of them. Worked on a lot of projects over the holidays. Hello World. Nice and easy. Nice to find. Cool. So, bring this tab over and we can see a lovely little map of Cyprus at the moment, which we'll dive into more detail in a second. But on the Unreal Engine documentation, which I'll share in the chat shortly, has a very comprehensive breakdown of how landscapes work in general in Unreal, and it's quite straightforward, but it can get a little bit tricky at times, especially if we're using our own custom height maps that we can import. So let's say we want a specific terrain of a specific country or an area. You can find that using other tools online, free access tools or pay tools as well. And you can generate what Unreal calls a height map of that landscape, which you can import into Unreal, and it sort of match it 1-to-1 scale, or blow it out of proportion, or make it a miniature version, if you will. So I won't go too much into the detail of the documentation. I'll share this with you, but the main focus area we're going to work on today is how we can calculate different maps scale to match the real world, and a bit of a breakdown on what the sort of different landscape sizes are, because you can get a little bit, like I said, tricky with the resolutions from your image and how you import it in Unreal. You obviously want it to match, and we can use measuring tools as well to justify whether that's real or not. So for a project we worked with Cloudyworks with me recently, we had to replicate a church that was broken and fixed, and we had to situate it in the exact landscape that it currently lives in at the moment. And it was nice because we had to do a bit of a blend between the ancient church, let's say, and the landscape as it evolved over the years. So we had a sort of a blend between, one without roads and one without very basic textures and very basic trees, and obviously a lot more foliage and greenery, whereas now it's a little bit more dry, and obviously there's stuff built in the area, so we had to sculpt the land and make it look exactly the same. So this is where these sort of overall sizes of landscapes will help us distinguish whether that scale is accurate or not. Anything else in here that I am missing? we won't dive into a lot of layering and texturing of materials at the moment, but I will also share some stuff on that, so you can feel free to crack on in your own time as well. Setting up materials for landscapes is slightly different to what we've saw last week, but we'll look at some basic ones. I've attempted to upload some that we can download, but we'll try an alternative way today and try to work with Fab into getting some of these assets into Unreal. Has anyone used Fab already, or know what Fab is? Fabulous, cool. So Fab is basically, and I don't want to diss it, but it is probably one of the worst um, marketplaces that exist on the planet at the moment. Sad to say, it is a work in progress. Unreal have dropped the ball big time on it, but it's cool. It's still workable, and we'll try to use as much as possible. But it is a bit of a headache. So what Fab is, yeah, like I said, it's a marketplace. Unreal Engine used to have their own one before, but now they've partnered with Quixel, Megascans, Quixel, and Sketchfab, and hence now it's called Fab. Cool. And that's the sort of the new marketplace that we can get all our assets from, free or paid, etc. So I'm guessing you all had needed to sign up with an account to log into Epic Games. So we'll use that same account to access our Fab library, and hopefully there will be no issues with anyone. Um, but if there are, we can crack on and solve it at a later time. Cool. So let me just share a link to this in the Discord so everyone can grab. I'm gonna go for general chat. Let me know if you'll do that. And I kind of have it in my library already, but if you hit download, and I might need some feedback of someone here as well, if that actually needs downloading, or if it says exactly what it says here. Does it say Unreal Engine files are in Epic Games Launcher? Anyone? Pause for a second.
Mine has a slightly different text. It says to access Unreal Engine files, add the asset to your library.
Add the asset to your library. Okay, cool. And then if you click view in my library, does it pop up
A
there?
moment here, I'm not logged in my browser, and it wants me to do something. I'm not sure what yet.
Cool, I'll slow it down. Sorry, do you need some assistance with that? Not so fabulous. If I search in my library on Fab, I should have it here. Landscape Pro 2.0 Auto Gen. And I guess if it's appearing here in your library, then it should
Yeah, I
also.
managed to get mine to work. It's your Fab library. You might need to refresh it to enable this on the launch.
Oh yeah, there we go.
On the launcher.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then after you get it on the launcher, then you can download it on a project. It asks you which you want to put it on if you have multiple. Choose Hello World.
cool.
Well, mine is gonna download for potentially quite a bit, so I guess you guys go ahead first without me.
Yeah, mine's pretty slow too, on like 18 megabyte.
Oh, it's still downloading. How big is it? Let me see if we can get another one
3
then.
gigs.
3 gigs. 3
For me, it
good
takes maybe
boy.
5 minutes.
Okay, we can crack on and leave that downloading in the background. But as Milo said, if it's appearing in the library of Fab, then if you go into Epic Games and under your Fab library, you can hit refresh or leave it as is and just search in there. Or if you don't have a lot of assets, it should appear there, and you should get this landscape 2.0 Pro 2.0 Autogen. Let me know if you have access to that as well, as in Epic Games. You can see it.
Yeah, that's where I'm like downloading it by adding
Cool.
it to the project.
Cool. So did you guys already add to project? Milo, yes. That's the next step, basically. So if we're going
It's almost
to,
there for me.
so
It's like,
is it downloading once you add it to the project, or
Exactly.
yeah? Okay, cool. So for those who are not there yet, if you find the project here and you add to project, you then look for your Hello World project, and then you add to project, and that will queue it, and it will start downloading it to your project, basically.
yeah, mine is. Oh, wait, what? It says add to project again. It says 3.
Yeah, if it means already it's done, so you can check in your Hello World project. It should be there now.
Where would it be?
If you
Content.
if you check in your Unreal Engine project now, it should be there. If it's
Mhm.
finished, if it says add to project again, you should see it.
Where exactly? In the project.
In the project, in the content browser, I guess
It's called STF under content.
Oh, that's what it is. Oh yeah. Yeah, I got
Yeah,
it. You don't have it though.
I don't have it
yeah,
though.
I got it.
I guess it's gonna take a while for me then. Should be too many
500
things.
kilobytes.
Damn, man.
Oh my god,
Deadly.
dog. No
Deadly.
way. No. Oh,
How are you
no.
streaming?
I don't know. Maybe it's because of the
I think
stream.
it's
I don't know.
because he's streaming. 'Cause
But we're gonna cut the stream. See ya. It's downloaded. Um,
See you tomorrow, bro.
maybe I might bring in another one for the purpose of the tutorial. Let me bring another one out. Right, just a little cheat. Okay, now I've got some basic ones to work with, since you guys are on a faster download speeds. These won't look the same as your project, so don't. Yeah, we'll crack on for now until that finishes downloading. But we'll leave as is. We just need that project for the materials and textures. Basically, that's all we need it for. So if it's actually slowing down my stream, the download, just let me know and I'll post that and I'll use the templates that I have. Groovy. So where do we leave off? Did we have any levels that we created? Starter map, third person map, advanced lighting. Nope, we were just playing with it. Cool. So let's start by creating a brand new level. So if right click into our content browser, I guess You can keep it in the main default folder in the content, right click, level, and call it landscape. And we're going to jump into that level, double click, it's going to ask you to save. So save that first. And we're going into a blank map. Let me know if we're all there. V.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Me. Cat. You good?
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Sweet. Cool. And in here, I'm going to show you a little cheat sheet of how we can get some nice, quick lighting. So if we pop up to Window and go to Environment Light Mixer and click that. Here we get a little console where we have our skylight, atmosphere, clouds, fog, etc. So we're just gonna one by one start to click on all these icons. And that's gonna bring us all of everything we've inserted in the level is now gonna appear here in this little window. So we can play with everything at once, but we're not really concerned with this at the moment. But if you are, you can play with the intensity of the sky, of the sun, etc., etc. We'll dive into that in another workshop. So we can close that down, but that's just a nice way to get quick and easy sky assets. Sorry, little atmosphere in Unreal. Also in the underneath the top taskbar, we have this mode called selection mode, landscape, foliage, mesh paint, modeling, fracture, brush, etc., etc., etc. These are like your equivalent if you're working with Maya or 3ds. You've got different, animation, 3D modeling tabs which bring out other tools that we can use. So as the name, we're going to jump into landscape, and as a shortcut, we can also use Shift and 2. So we're going to click landscape, and it's going to prepare some shaders for some reason. I don't know why we haven't had any shaders, but we're going to get this beautiful looking little grid. Nice. So what does this mean? What is this? Obviously it snaps it to the origin, so at 0, 0, 0 is the center point of the grid. And basically we're working with different resolutions here in Unreal. And the section size, well, feel free to play around with it. Now it's in the middle, but if I change it to 127 by 127, it's going to grow the grid. If I change it to 255 by 255, and that is the maximum basically. So how it works, the height map values go from minus 255 to 255, and that's total of 512 units. And basically it's equivalent to, I think currently it's equivalent to meters, the scale. So usually our units in Unreal work with centimeters, but for the landscape it works in meters. So if we're talking about 255, it's 255 by 255 meters overall. And that's the maximum we can go in terms of also height. It's between minus 255 and plus 255 as the max. But also if we want to increase, what is that again, sections per component. So if we, let's say, and we're going to see this more closely once we dive into okay, what's the best example I can use here? So the project we did with Cloudyworks had the church had a little water, what do they call it? Do you know which one I'm talking about, me? It had a little water section. So
Stream?
sorry,
Was it a stream?
It wasn't a stream that you sort of they constructed it in that way so that they can control how the water runs through the land there. So sort of like a
Oh.
man-made stream, and we had to
Yeah.
build a wall, but we had to also sculpt the landscape to match the wall basically. But because the resolution of the landscape was too low, when we were sculpting, we couldn't sculpt in the centimeters and the millimeters. We were sculpting in the meters. So once we were sculpting, the landscape obviously would go over the wall. And when we would unsculpt or try to smooth it out to flatten it a little bit, it would go back a meter. So we were always either left with a gap or it was going beyond the wall, which was quite frustrating. And we're trying to work out why we can't sort of sculpt in such a granular detail. And obviously, we then redid the landscape with a much higher resolution, and that allowed us to basically, if I zoom in, now it's pretty huge. Ooh, he's going nuts. But you can see the grid size basically is what I mean by that. Once we sculpt, we can adjust every little cube, and that will have obviously an effect on the surrounding cubes as well. So the higher the resolution is, the more granular we can sculpt and the more high detail we can sculpt. So if you're actually going to use, obviously I wouldn't recommend it, you would use something like ZBrush, but if you're actually sculpting figures, then you would work in obviously the highest resolution possible. Groovy. So my camera is moving very fast. Also, a good tip when working with landscapes is your camera speed is this little icon right here. Camera speed, top right hand corner next to your outliner. That camera speed, basically, if you hold your middle mouse down and rotate forward, you can see it's increasing. And if I go back, it's decreasing. So press the middle mouse down, hold it, and roll your finger forward and back, and that will change. It's a little bit tricky to get. It's a bit fiddly, but play around with it a little bit, you get the hang of it. I mean, and you can also adjust it manually as well here if you want. So you can adjust this camera speed with the slider. So if we're working with big open worlds and we're traveling at speed 0.75, it's going to take us ages to get to places, so we can increase that speed and just fly around the world nice and easy. Just a little navigational tip there. Take it or leave it. But I'm going to go back to about 0.75. And so for the section size, we're not going to go for something too big to not be able to navigate around. So let's go back to the default, which is 63 quads by 63. Currently at scale is 100 by 100. So if I scale this down to, let's say, 50, now we're using half of 255, which is 7.5, and so on, and the same goes for the X and Y. Number of components, we'll leave it all as default, and we're just gonna hit fill world. Or create, sorry. Oh no, I hit fill world. Don't hit fill world. Fill world just actually does what it says, fill world, which has increased the total components for me to 16,900. Which probably crashed my engine. That's why it's frozen.
R.I.P. bro.
Did you do the same?
No. I was waiting.
Cool.
Yeah.
So just hit create. Don't hit fill world while I. Oh, it's happening. It's happening. Alright. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. But that will essentially just fill the whole world to the max. Let that go for a second. This is where Unreal Engine becomes very therapeutic and very neat to work with. We haven't applied a material just yet, but we'll get to that in a second once our files are downloaded. How's your downloads going so far?
Done on my end.
Nice.
Yeah, I hit fill world, so it's gonna take a while.
So I just I just force quit my project and I'm starting it up again. Sorry, cat. Apologies.
It's okay.
But
It's
this
a
wo-
pretty fast computer.
these are exactly what these workshops are for: the do's and the don'ts.
Who is this Bill World? It's kind of fun drawing on this.
Okay, here we go. Landscapes, default, create, don't fill world. Nice, nice and easy. Cool. All right. So do we all have a nice blank grid with a little sculpting tool available for us? Except cat.
I might have also turned up the settings to max like you did, so even though I only hit create, it's also taking ages.
Oh, you went for the 256.
Whatever the bottom settings were, I just maxed that out.
Lovely, cool. Well, while you wait, we can take a look at some of these tools we have here available for us. So in this
Oh,
top,
I'm sorry.
sorry, cat.
But I restarted as well. So what were the settings you chose for the landscape?
Just left it at default.
All right,
Default for now.
cool.
Lovely. Have you got the sky in and everything as well? That's all.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
also forced quitting.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the resolutions of these landscapes is really dependent on the performance of your machine.
Oh, never mind, it's working. I have 15 FPS, but it's there. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
gigantic.
yeah. It could work. It could work. I can't think of any recommendations as to how to improve that. Maybe working in smaller sections and then combining it in the end. That could be a possibility because you can also manage different landscapes. Again, they're grids, so you can put them together afterwards. So in the under landscape mode, we have three sections here: manage, sculpt, and paint. Manage allows us to adjust different settings and delete different segments from the landscape. So we can import, like I said, now if you wanted to combine two landscapes in the future, we can import, we can select different landscape pieces, we can delete those landscape pieces, add more. We can also resize. So if we've gone ahead and created a huge landscape by accident, we can also resize it and hit apply, but bear in mind that apply may also take a few minutes to kick in. So if you have making the mistake of creating much higher resolution or even a lower resolution, you can increase it and decrease it here in the resize section. And if you want to add a new landscape, for some reason create different layers of landscapes, you can do that as well. I believe for our previous project I was referring to, we created two separate ones. So the one that had the gap in that we couldn't fix, which was in meters, we left as is, and then we created another landscape layer on top, and we worked on the much finer details. So in the sculpting section, we have a number of different things we can do, and this is where I'll let your creativity and imagination roll with it. Sculpt, as if you hover over it, every little icon has a bit of a description. So sculpting, if we just leave the default settings and just click on the landscape anywhere, click and hold with your left mouse, start creating a nice little gigantic mountain. But Milo already created something very creative, which I think we can share. Maturity levels.
I made some naughty stuff here. It's done now.
And in here we have, in the landscape editor, we have different ways we can form our brush. So now we're just a circle, but we could use a more of a pattern based one, and work with entire landscape. I actually haven't worked that works for specific sections itself, but typically you use the circular brush, and then you have different fall off types. So if we click and hold and create, we see we get this exactly as the shape represent. It's sort of a smooth fall off on the edging. If you go for a sharp linear fall off, it creates with a bit of less smoothing on the end, but we can adjust that later. Spherical, tip fall off, again, you can play around with each of these. They create very different effects. And below it we have the tool strength. So this is how fast we want to sculpt these. So if you're working with smaller detail, you might want to reduce that. If you're working with big landscapes and large generation, you can increase that to the max, and then you see what it does. Usually that's for like rapidly creating like a nice landscape around. So also we can increase our brush size. So currently it's at 248. This is also the resolution that goes hand in hand with the resolution stuff we showed here earlier, so keep that in mind. And if we increase the size of that brush, we can see now it's huge, so I can start creating some nice decent sized mountains, much bigger than my landscape can afford. So here is where we need to increase our camera a little bit so we can navigate nice and easy. But yeah, just by clicking and holding, you can start to sculpt a nice little landscape. Now let's say this landscape is a little bit too rough. I want some nice smooth mountain edges. I'm going to go back to my smooth tool, decrease the strength a little bit to not apply too much smoothing, and I'm going to decrease the size as well of the brush so it can affect more of a smaller area. And then I'm just going to start to paint around. Now you won't see it apparent. Let's go to somewhere rough. Let's say this edge right here. But once I click, be wary when you're using the smooth tool, because you can apply a lot of smoothing. So I suggest playing around with the strengths and the brush size and the fall off settings. The fall off is basically if you see the circle, let me zoom in. If you see this circle I'm hovering over, it has two rings. The inner ring is obviously the main sculpting, and the outer ring is where your fall off is applied. So it's going to sculpt up, but also create a bit of a curvature to it. So you can completely remove that so that it's completely using the tool strength only. Oh, sorry, I'm on smooth sculpt, and that will create a bit less of a smoother object. But then if you also increase the fall off, you create like a little dot, whee, a small mountain tip, which can be a little bit more realistic sometimes. So this brush fall off will save you a lot of hassle going back later to apply more smoothing and more flattening tools. So really have a play around these three settings: tool strength, brush size, brush fall off, and then maybe the brush fall off method that you're using. What other stuff do we have here? Flattening tools. So if you're creating a nice big landscape, let's say huge, but then you want to create some nice roads, some flat steel roads, you need to sculpt up to a specific section and then flatten it from there. Oops, sorry, let me remove my brush fall off, increase my strength a little bit. So now when I hit flatten, you can see we can now create a little bit of let's say, a road going through this mountain. And the same way I've sculpted, it's the same way I'm flattening. So left click, hold, hover over. So the flattening also works both ways. So flats down, but also creates height. You can get addicted to this for hours, so be mindful. And then painting, obviously, it's for our materials, which we don't have any layers at the moment, but once we incorporate the project that we've downloaded, we'll get different layers here. And actually, let's quickly demonstrate that. Has everyone got that downloaded, that file? Landscape
Mm-hmm.
AutoGen 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 2 yeses. Me? Cat? Nope.
The one from the Fab store, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I have it.
I would assume me had the fastest download in London, right? It would have been done. You should have been done yesterday. Cool. So you happy to just observe for the time being? It's quite a straightforward
Yeah,
process. Cool. So we played around a little bit with the landscape tools. Now, obviously, we can't, once we're in landscape mode, we can't access the other tools that we need. So what we're going to do is we're just going to jump out of landscape mode back into selection mode. Boom. And now we can add access to all the other stuff in our outliner. Okay, so you guys now should have that project in your content browser. I believe it's called STL, something you said, Kat?
F. STF.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So in that folder, you probably have a materials folder as well. You're gonna have to share that with me a little bit so I can help
There's
you out.
base, environment, and map.
Base, environment, and map. Okay, so if you stay in the default folder, and here in the next to the search, you also have a filter. Can you filter by material?
We got bow bar, bow leaves, grass, bunch of stuff.
So you got a couple of materials there, right?
Yeah, fair use, yeah.
Lovely. So if you click on your landscape and scroll down into your details section, you have a landscape material bit here. What happens when you drag and drop one of those materials in there?
Yeah, it applies it, but it's kind of like weirdly tiled.
Weirdly tiled, right? Yeah, that's at least it's getting applied. One for some reason doesn't want to get applied. I froze it. So everyone got a material on their landscape? You able to apply that?
Yes.
Sweet. So if you go back to in the select mode and landscape again, now in the paint section now, do you have your materials under your layers here? Do you have different do you have different layers available?
Nope.
No layers. Alright. Should have approached this slightly differently then.
I think it's parent shaded.
Sorry?
For some reason, after I selected a material, all of a sudden, shaders.
Yeah, compiling shaders, it will occur if you're applying different materials to the landscapes because it's quite a large area to cover. Okay, we can work with the default material for now. We can touch more on the layer blends at the moment. I guess any material that you apply to it. So let's say if I go back to my starter content, materials, and let's say grass. Doesn't want to work with mine. Jump back to selection. Hey, there it is. Nice little mossy grass material. So any material will work with the landscape. I just wanted to show you something slightly more complex where the material has different layers inside. So let's say we want to create a landscape where we have rocks, snow, and a trail path of snow. We can create a material with a combination of these three, and then in different areas of the landscape, paint it so that it matches that sort of environment. So where there is actual mountainous rocks, there's rocks, and when there's snow, we can paint snow patches if we wanted to. Or we can actually create the materials. It's a bit more advanced, but we can create the materials in logic with the values that we know previously. So knowing the different height maps, so minus 255 and plus 255, we can create parameters to say, okay, at height 50 meters, start to add this material. At height 100 meters, start to add this material, so that if we're creating a landscape that goes from sea level, it has gravel, and then goes to the mountains and it has snow, then we know at like, okay, 500 meters, let's say, snow starts to build up, and below that, it's just gravel, rock. And that allows us easier to paint our landscape and manipulate our landscape so that we don't have to go in every single area and paint it manually. We can use the logic of blueprints in the material to help us get there. But just because of time and fab downloads, which I did not anticipate, apologies for that. We'll look at that closely in one of the next tutorials. So currently, do you all have a landscape with a material applied to it that's slightly painted in your own lovely way?
Yeah.
Groovy. Should we look at some more tools here we can use?
Yours seems to be quite nicely tiled, all things considered, but every one that I put on is like so small.
Have you
It
played
tiles
around?
1,000 times.
Have you played around with the sizing of the landscape tool?
No, it's fairly standard. Should be the same as everybody else.
I've applied the starter content ground moss material to it. I mean, I can apply another one, gravel. Apply gravel. See what gravel does.
Ground. There we go. Oh yeah, nice. That looks great, actually. Yeah. I think for whatever reason, some of the landscape materials that are in that thing are really, really tiled. So this is less.
And
Cool.
you can adjust that as we showed in the previous tutorial with the UV tiling.
Mm.
They probably have
Yeah,
material
yeah.
instances that you can go in and adjust that, and then it should tile a lot better.
Yeah, yeah.
So back into the landscape mode, we have, like I said, we left off at flatten, but you can create, a number of things. You can create a ramp if you want. So if I want to create a road that leads up to it, I think it's click and click again, double click. So click on your starting point, click on your ending point. You can play around with the width of it. And then adjust the height using this Z. Let's say if we're not happy and we want it to meet exactly there. and then add ramp. And that will generate a nice little smooth gradient ramp leading up. And then we can smooth this section out later if it doesn't match nicely. Erosion, I haven't really used much in the past. Mostly noise, just to create a bit more of an asymmetry to the landscape. But feel free to have a click. And how I usually test these tools is I just increase the strength completely to max, give a nice big brush size of like 2000, let's say, and just click it and see and play around with it and see what it does. And then you get a much better understanding with the max. So this is, I guess, more for creating nice seabeds and rivers and stuff like that. Sun erosion, I guess it is quite literal. And then hydro is with water, and noise is just random pure noise, similar to the sculpt tool, but this I would work with it with very little tool strength. And certain areas where it's a bit too flat, you can add a bit of bump. So this is one of the more creative tool sets of Unreal Engine, I would say. You'll definitely spend time playing around with all of these tools and using your creativity and imagination to get the right look and feel. But I'll also send you a recording of how we can use real height maps. Actually, got about 5 minutes, we can run through this now actually. So if we, let's say, wanted to get an accurate representation of a landscape, this is a tool that is free to use online. I'll share it also now in the Discord. It's from one of the tutorials I've managed to find. It's quite useful. It's got the all over the world. And what you do with this, I'm just going to brush through it quickly. I'm going to save this image as a PNG on my desktop, let's say. Let's call it Cyprus height map. And then what I'm going to do, excuse my desktop, is bring it into Unreal Engine. If you ever let me. Cool. So now we've got this image, PNG image in Unreal Engine as a texture. And now in the landscape, let's say I'm going to add a new landscape. Instead of create new, I'm going to do import from file. And we can actually, oh, sorry, I didn't need to drag it into Unreal, but we can actually select the file and move it around. So you can see how the resolution plays effect. Now I've imported this huge island of Cyprus, yet it's come out looking like this. Now this might be a little bit deceiving, but let's just hit import and see what that does. I'm gonna get rid of my fog so you can see it. So it is the shape and the island of Cyprus, but I haven't set the parameters of the Z height from 255 to minus 255 to 255. So hence it doesn't know where the maximum threshold is. It's just imported at 100% scale in the Z axis. But it is an actual representation of the map of Cyprus, which is pretty cool, just with a click or two. From free tools, we can have a very nice starting point to work with. So if you wanted to create like a cinematic shot in the Grand Canyon for one of your reels or one of your movies that you're planning to make, or one of your cutscenes for your games, you can import literally the exact same height map of it. It's maybe even more zoomed in, so you get more resolution. The only bad thing, it doesn't come with materials. That would be great, but you can create your own custom materials and apply them. And
Do you,
uh,
do you
yep.
mind showing that one more time? Just like what the so whenever you're creating a new landscape, I've just brought in the Cypress type map.
So if you go to landscape,
And
you've
mm-hmm,
got
yeah.
well, if you're starting from scratch, yeah, you can click on new,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of create new, it's import from file,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
and then you just browse, click on the height map file, browse to where you saved it.
For some reason, my height map resolution says
What does it say? Sorry, man.
invalid for some reason. Whenever I
Yeah,
try to find the
yeah, it will say invalid until you get the right scalability settings.
there we go. Yeah, I got
So
it.
you have to play around with the. It will import it at the resolution that the image is, and then you have to play around with the scale. But yeah, sorry, bit of a trial and error one today. It is fresh off the new year, so apologies for the issues with the materials, but we can look into that a little bit more down the line once we start painting our own landscapes for our little game that we're going to create in the last few tutorials. But any questions?
No?
No, no.
I've got
all
one
good.
unrelated to this stuff
Yeah.
about you said because was it the fab before it goes online properly, you are able to download the stuff for free. Did you do that in the end?
Well, as you can see, my computer hasn't even downloaded 3 gig yet, so I would have struggled to download about 6 terabytes, I think, of assets that there are
Is that
available for
deadline
free.
gone now?
I believe so, but feel free to try it. I mean, there is a lot of stuff for free which you can access. I think what they're going to introduce is more of a paid license, so like a subscription thing, which they haven't yet. So I think you're good for now. So yeah, what I would recommend is just go on Fab. Go on Fab, go discover whatever you want to find. Let's say environments, and I always just go to price free, and then just see what's available and just start adding all of these to your library. Just have them in your library. You never know when you're gonna need them. Some of this stuff may disappear. I found that a lot of projects have went away over the years, so luckily I've got stuff stored from like 6 years ago, which is great. But yeah, like feel free to take advantage of all this stuff. It's really nice starting points, and a lot of the assets you end up using from project to project, like this rural Australia. As you know me, you've probably seen these textures and assets in other projects that we've done. It's just unbelievable. Like really, really, really good, and really straightforward to work with.
Oh, thanks.
So yeah, go get downloaded. Whenever you're turning off, well, I actually never turn off my computer at night. I just click download and then go to sleep, and hopefully I've got 10 more assets in the morning. That's how I'm doing it currently. Not the whole not the whole script. But yeah, guys, sorry. Yeah, I mean, we're keeping it quite basic, just as a starting point. We've gone through the basic tools of landscapes, from sculpting to smoothing to managing the landscape resolution, and importing our own custom height maps. Now, I can't stress out more to go through this documentation a bit more clearly to understand what these mean, what these values mean, in order to get the right heights from your landscape. It's a bit too much to cover in one session. But feel free to have a gander at some tutorials. I'll also share some. But yeah, groovesy.
Very cool. Very, very cool.
Next
Thank you,
one
man.
is what's the next one? Next one is characters. Ooh, exciting! We're gonna get some Mixamo avatars running around our landscape next
Oh,
tutorial.
hell yeah, bro. Very cool.
So I'll actually, for the next one, because there might be a bit of download involved with characters, I might send a few links prior. So just keep an eye out on Discord throughout this week, so we can download stuff. So I have it ready for next week's session.
Cool. Sounds like a plan. Nice.
All right.
Very nice. Thank you, Petros. Much appreciated, bro.
Thanks,
Thank you very
guys. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. First one of the new year, and to many more.
Hell yeah.
Hope you
Sounds
get
like a plan, man.
Hope you get well soon. I'm sorry to hear that you're unwell. It's like a huge thing in Cyprus at the moment. I've only
Spreading like crazy, man.
I've only just got better
I
myself.
got sick twice, bro. I got sick twice. Once before my
Nice.
parents came, and then they brought another one from England. Twice. Lovely, bro.
Nice.
Ugh, dude, it never ends.